Some stories are so dark, so disturbing, that they continue to haunt us decades later. This is one of those stories. Today, we're diving deep into the tragic and horrifying case of Sylvia Likens, a 16-year-old girl whose life was cruelly stolen in what has been called Indiana's most terrible crime. Sylvia Marie Likens was born on January 3, 1949. She lived a modest life with her parents, Lester and Betty Likens, and her 4 siblings in Indianapolis, Indiana. The Likens family was working class, often struggling to make ends meet. Sylvia was described as a friendly and trusting girl. She loved music and dreamed of becoming a nurse. Unfortunately, tragedy struck the family when Sylvia's parents separated, leaving the children caught in the middle. In the summer of 1965, Sylvia and her younger sister Jenny went to live with Gertrude Banaszewski. Their parents, struggling financially and personally, thought this would be a temporary solution. They agreed to pay Gertrude $20 a week to care for the girls. Gertrude, a single mother of 7, lived in a dilapidated house on East New York Street. This seemingly simple arrangement would prove to be a fatal mistake, marking the beginning of Sylvia's descent into a nightmare. Inside the House of Horrors, life at the Banaszewski household quickly turned into a living hell for Sylvia. The once quiet and unassuming home became a place of unimaginable suffering and torment. What began as verbal abuse escalated into unimaginable physical and psychological torture. Sylvia, a young and innocent girl, found herself trapped in a nightmare that seemed to have no end. Gertrude, aided by her own children and neighborhood kids, subjected Sylvia to relentless beatings, starvation, and humiliation. The cruelty knew no bounds, as every day brought new horrors for Sylvia to endure. Sylvia was confined to the basement, often tied up and deprived of food and water. The cold, dark, and damp environment added to her misery, making her feel completely isolated and hopeless. Gertrude encouraged her own children and other neighborhood kids to participate in the abuse. The children, influenced by Gertrude's malevolence, took part in the torment with disturbing enthusiasm. They burned Sylvia with cigarettes, beat her with paddles and belts, and carved words into her skin. The physical scars were a testament to the unimaginable pain she endured, but the emotional scars ran even deeper, leaving a lasting impact on her fragile psyche. The perpetrators. Gertrude Banaszewski was the orchestrator of this horrific crime. A woman hardened by life, she seemed to derive pleasure from inflicting pain on Sylvia. Her own children, Paula, John, Stephanie, and others, participated in the abuse, their young minds warped by the violence they witnessed and inflicted. Even more disturbing was the involvement of other neighborhood children. They joined in the torture, egged on by Gertrude and her children. The case exposed a chilling undercurrent of cruelty that can fester in seemingly ordinary places. Justice of a sort. On October 26, 1965, Sylvia Likens succumbed to her injuries. Her story is one of the most harrowing and tragic tales of abuse and neglect in American history. Her bruised and emaciated body bore testament to the unimaginable suffering she endured. Sylvia was subjected to months of torture, starvation, and humiliation at the hands of those who were supposed to care for her. Gertrude Banaszewski, the woman responsible for orchestrating this cruelty, along with her accomplices, were arrested and charged with various crimes related to Sylvia's death. The community was in shock, unable to fathom how such evil could exist in their midst. The trial that followed shocked the nation. It was a media sensation, with every detail of the horrific abuse making headlines and leaving the public in disbelief. The details of Sylvia's abuse were so horrific, so inhumane, that many found them difficult to comprehend. Testimonies revealed the extent of the physical and psychological torment she endured. Gertrude was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. Her conviction was a small measure of justice for Sylvia, though it could never undo the pain and suffering she experienced. Several of her children and other participants received lesser sentences. The case remains a chilling reminder of the depths of human cruelty and the importance of vigilance in protecting the vulnerable.